I'm going to pull Deb in now, about the book. I know she's dying to talk about the book.
Go ahead.
So the book that is hard to get in India, she knows I've been trying to get the book and I wanted to read it before the session, but I couldn't. Slow Puncture. So tell us about, how did the title come about and how did the book evolve and how was it written?
The title I would love to take credit for, or maybe I should just start taking credit for it. But I was talking at a meeting about this book I was writing about Peter, and this chap knew that Peter liked riding bicycles, so he said, "Oh, I'll call it Slow Puncture." And of course, it's a perfect title because it has so many images to it. The book is about a year in Peter's life, and so it looks at dementia through my perspective and through Peter's perspective. And obviously, because Peter didn't write it per se, but I've reflected his words in the chapters that are about Peter. So it's sort of an account of all the things we have done in 1 year, including challenges and raising money and the TV program that Peter mentioned, but also how my perception changed. So when I moved up to Suffolk, I knew nothing about dementia. And like Peter said, I thought it was old people sitting in the corner of a care home, just waiting. Peter shook my perception up and made me understand what it was like for him to live with dementia. But I've also reflected Peter's words and thoughts about living with his dementia monster. So it's a little bit of two things. It's a factual account of activities and a sort of emotional account of the friendship and the dementia. And here is a picture of the book. And on the front, that's Peter on his penny farthing bike. I don't know if you have penny farthings in India.
No, I haven't. I have never seen it. I've heard of it because I grew up reading British novels. So I had heard of the penny farthing.
That is book number 1, which hopefully you will be able to get in India soon. This is book number 2, which we have just had published. This is called Walk With Me, Musings Through the Dementia Fog. And over the last couple of years, Peter, in the evening, when he's a little bit tired of mind, has been sending me the thoughts that are in his head. And I've been collating them. And they're kind of poetical. They're not poetry in the traditional sense of the word, but they are poetical thoughts about what it's like for Peter with his dementia. I've collated them, typed them all up, written a few words, and we have we've illustrated it. Hang on, with photography of our area in Suffolk. So there are quite a few photos which illustrate Peter's poems, and then there's my reflections on what I've learnt through my friendship with Peter. So we have 2 books now, which I never thought I'd ever have. And that is something that Peter has given to me. He's fulfilled my ambition of being a writer by my friendship. So that's me taking from his dementia and him giving to me. So that's my way of kicking his dementia monster too. Yeah.
So you have mentioned him enriching your life. This is one way. What other lessons have you learned from Peter?
I've learned to live in the moment. I'm not particularly good at it, but I'm learning, and to enjoy the moment and not to worry about the things I can't control. And there are a few of those in my life, things I can't control, but to enjoy the things we can do and the activities we can do, and the fact that we're alive and we're enjoying living in this beautiful part of the world and having a good time. So it's about living in the moment, which you have perfected much more out of necessity.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm trying to do, because I've always catastrophized and been a worrier and looked ahead, and I'm a typical Jewish grandmother. I worry about everything. Peter is kind of helping me just live for the moment.
Yeah, living in the moment is something I've learned from dementia and from Peter's videos as well. The ability to laugh at the same joke. Everything is new every time, right? It's you may have heard it a million times, but it's new. I think that's a wonderful blessing, I think, in just to be able to live in the moment and enjoy it like it's new.
Yeah, and it isn't easy because my mind is constantly looking ahead and thinking about things I haven't done, I shouldn't. But it's almost like a Zen-like condition, isn't it? You really have to focus and enjoy that moment.
I think it's probably a lot easier for me now because I do have a past, i.e. years back, that I can remember, but the immediate past is not there. The immediate future is not there. So I'm somewhat forced to live in the here and now. So it's probably easier for somebody like me to do that because the plans are not really something that I do nowadays because I can't remember them. And what I had done, I don't know because I can't remember it. To give you a little idea, when I cycled across the country, the first challenge we did a few years ago, I was pretty much on the ball with who was donating funds, the route, where we were stopping, and what was happening. I had my finger on the pulse of the whole challenge. A year later, we did another challenge, which I can't remember what that is now, but we did another challenge. Oh, riding a penny farthing, that's right. And I had really no idea of where we were going to stop, and what we were going to do, and who had donated funds, and how it was going. I just got on a bike and followed those people in front. So that gives you an idea of how things changed within that year. But I still lived in the here and now because I still enjoyed every turn of the pedals, and I can remember that here, you know, in my soul.
So did you, I want to talk about biking because I want to tell you something about me. I don't know how to ride the bike. So here's an admission. But I bought a bike a couple months ago and I started learning, and I had somebody teach me, and I can balance myself, but I wish you guys were nearer so I could practice a little. So were you always into bike riding, and how did you do long distance riding before?
Yes, when I was a teenager in 1979, I did my first time trial. I was never a professional cyclist. I did it for fun, and we had time trials and competitions that I did for quite a few years. And then as a teenager, I just used to regularly cycle 50, 60, 70 and 100 miles. It was always something I did. As time went on and I ran the business and had a young family, I had less time, so I didn't cycle quite so much then. But now that I don't work and I've got this condition, I have, you know, refound that as something that I could always do and have always done and can continue to do. And it's how can I put this? It's definitely the flame that really ignites my fire, without any doubt at all. It really does. Cycling is the thing that makes me tick now, because it's something that I can do with ease still, and locally we can actually cycle for about 25 miles and not really go anywhere, if that makes sense. We can go locally around, and we got some really great cycling around here with the great Suffolk countryside. So we're very fortunate for that.
Yeah, and I think you have done many challenges, and you mentioned in one of the videos that to challenge yourself is important if you're living with dementia. I mean, it's for anyone really.
I have found I came up with this idea that I would try and do a challenge every year. For as long as I could. We have had COVID, so that has sort of messed up last year's and beforehand, but we have other things in the pipeline for this year. Life is for living for me. As dementia progresses, I have less that I can focus on. And in order to give me a purpose, and in order to keep my fire burning, I have to find challenges. That's just me personally. I have to just push the boundaries just a little bit more, just out of my comfort zone a fraction. to actually, after I've done something, to say, yes, I did do it. Now, it scares my family to pieces. They think I'm completely bonkers. And after I've done one challenge, they think, oh God, what are you going to come up with now? So I think it worries them to pieces. But I don't want to come to a certain stage in my life and sit and think to myself, I wish I'd have done that. I want to remember with photographs and other things that I have done something. And I have taken from dementia instead of it taking from me. That's how I sort of see it.
And you've also been raising funds for your causes through your challenges, and that gives you a sense of purpose, I'm sure.
It does, and I think one of the things that we're raising for at the moment, and we have done for a little while, is Alzheimer's Research UK, and that's to put funds into research to help to find a cure or help to find something so that people like me in the future, if they're diagnosed in their 50s, they might be able to take a tablet and somebody can say, look, you're going to live with dementia, but you're not really going to die of it. Now, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? So we're putting a lot of effort into raising money for research here. And it's like all these things, so very, very underfunded, which is a great shame.
That's so wonderful. So I think we have a few minutes left. We can, with your permission, we can go beyond a little bit, beyond the hour. I think it's almost time. We have 6 minutes. I have a couple more questions. One question that I think Deb didn't want me to forget was about early onset versus early stage dementia. So there is a lot of misunderstanding about that, early onset. So can you enlighten us a little bit about that? Early onset versus early stage dementia, Alzheimer's.
That does confuse people quite a bit. Dementia is an umbrella term, just like heart disease is an umbrella term, and you get lots of offsets from that. We have Alzheimer's, we have Pick's disease, we have front lobal. There are so many of them. I'm not an expert on any of them, but early onset Alzheimer's, a lot of people think that it's Alzheimer's in its early stages, but it's not. It's Alzheimer's diagnosis prior to 65. That's the age. After 65, it's just common old Alzheimer's. I mean, you know. But before,
yeah, just a run-of-the-mill kind.
Yeah, exactly. After early onset. So people like me under the age of 65, we're really honoured to have a great long title. So that's the definition. Now, a majority of people with early onset Alzheimer's are, because of their age, are physically healthy. And that somehow defines the dementia as being not as bad. And technically it's not, because we are able to stimulate our minds more, and we have the opportunities, I think, to do more and keep active. In our age group, I believe that we have the opportunity to keep the bit from our eyebrows down healthy, and that helps to keep the bit from our eyebrows up healthy. It's not to say that people over 65 are not unhealthy, because I have met people who are in their 70s and are very physically fit. But I just think that younger people like me, we might have more opportunities. But then the bad side of that is that the benefit system in Great Britain here is geared up to people of 65 and over. Pensions are geared up for 65 and over. So the downside is that in our age group, we have lots of issues that we have to pay our mortgages, pay our bills, because it's so difficult to get any financial help because we're physically fit. So to prove that you have a condition that enables you not to work, is sometimes very, very difficult, and people get very worn down by that in this country. In this country, if you go for an assessment, the assessor does not look at the information that the doctor has given. They do not look at the scans, they do not look at the letters. They look at you personally. And if you on that day can walk, can talk, then you can work. And that's what we're trying to change as well. That I've probably gone off a complete angle there, but I just think of these things when they come.
No, it is relevant, and I think even in the U.S., the medical system is any kind of assistance is probably for people above a certain age. So early onset is unique, and it has unique challenges that are financial in nature as well. How have you found any technology that helps you in your daily life?
We do have Alexa, don't we? Yeah, we have that at home, but I must admit I don't use technology like I used to. I've started to lose the thread of technology a little bit. So I've actually gone back to, and I know we keep going back to the complicated dementia and simple dementia again. We've actually gone back to just using a whiteboard in our house to write things down. And my wife just leaves notes. She will call me on my mobile phone. I've got quite an old mobile phone because I know how that works. When that goes wrong, I don't know how I'm going to get on with trying to learn a new one. Some people with their dementia can cope very well with modern technology. It's something that some people are very good at, but me personally, I'm not. I'm finding that too much information to take in. So we just tend to use old-fashioned pens and papers, really.
That's good. I think in one of the recent videos that I saw, you had mentioned a watch that helps you, which was it has a GPS, and so your family knows where you are, and those kinds of technology also are helpful.
We did have one of those, and I think I had it for about a year or more. It was a great thing, but it was one of those things, from what I can recall, it was very expensive at the time, and when it went wrong, to replace it just didn't really seem the right thing to do. And I think by that time, you see, at that time I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, and my wife was very concerned as to where I was because she was still working at that time. So I was a lot of time on my own, and I was getting, I'm not going to say lost, I'm going to say mislaid on occasions. But as time has progressed, and I know Deb's now, and the local town around here know of my condition, I think the need for something like that at this time is not really something that we need. We've sort of found other simple routes. To give you an example, if I happen to walk around my village now, I will be asked by people in the village, you know, are you okay? I mean, the problem is, in our village, they will move the letterbox. So I go around with a letter, and I think the post box was down there, and actually it's up there. So I get people who steer me in the right direction. So yeah, we don't use technology like probably some people would.
Okay. So do we have time for a few questions? But before that, is there any, are there any closing remarks, any message for, you know, people living with dementia, as well as caregivers, words of wisdom from Peter Berry?
I think one of the things I would advise people is that dementia is a terrible diagnosis. There's no two ways about that. It's not a fun place to be, but you can live well with it. You can do the best you can, and it's not the end of our lives at this particular time. Things will change, but if we're positive, and I think if we have the right mindset, we can stave the condition off ourselves. Learn to go with the flow. Don't push against dementia. Learn to walk with it at a gentle pace. Learn to somehow accept your partner or friend or uncle or whoever it is, husband or wife, has got the condition, and go with the flow. Don't push, because it only makes it worse. I learned that with my dear old father. Just a quick example I will tell you. My mother passed away a few years before my father did. She liked going on coach trips to the seaside. When we used to visit my father, he would say, "Where is mother?" "But mother has died, father. She's passed away." There would be this outpour of grief. 10 minutes later, "Where is mother?" And we would go through the same thing. We learned very quickly that when he said, "Where is mother?" "Well, she's gone on a bus trip, father, today." "Oh, where's she gone?" "Well, she gone to the seaside, local town, Felixstowe or Lowston." All right then. And we learned that going with it and walking with dementia was a lot easier than pushing against it. It's as though you've got a door that says pull, and we were pushing it. We needed to pull the door and not push it. And that's what we learned. Now, there was this idea that people said you were lying to your father. We weren't lying to him. We were helping him to live well with the condition. That's what we were doing. And, you know, I mean, my father told me there was Father Christmas and there was the Tooth Fairy. So, hey, we're only doing the same thing, but different. So that was the thing. So I think to carers, try and go with it. Talk to people about the past. We don't have a future, but all of us have a past years back. We all had work. We all had hobbies. That's what we got to bring together. That's the flower that we've got to water. It's no good watering a dead flower that's coming. Water the live flower that you've got, the flower that's in the past. That's the one that will thrive, and that's the one that will bloom.
Oh, thank you for that. That's beautiful. I was always going to visit my grandmother with my dad the next day. We were always going to, my dad was in his, "We'll go tomorrow, you know, let me book the plane tickets. Can I go with you?" And he was always happy.
That's the way.
Thank you. You explained it beautifully, and it's a very important lesson for all caregivers. So, Shri, do you want to see if there are any questions? Anybody has any questions? So I'm going to step away now, and Shri is going to take over. But thank you so much, Peter and Deb. I'm so delighted that I got an opportunity to meet you both, and for all the life lessons that you've shared with us. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
So, Shri?
Yes, thank you, Geeta. So thank you, Peter and Deb, for an extremely insightful talk on living well with dementia. And thank you, Geeta, for making this such an engaging conversation. And listening to the conversation and what we've heard and seen is much stigma. So yeah, in general, and a diagnosis of dementia more specifically. So yet, persons living with dementia, like Peter, have begun to challenge these stereotypes by speaking out and sharing their stories, so that we might better understand how they experience dementia. So thank you again, Peter. You're very inspiring and help all of us realize that persons diagnosed with dementia can continue to live with it and still enjoy life, albeit in your own way. And from one of Deb's blogs, I found this one thing, title of one of her blogs so apt, that says, "Destination known, route to be decided, and the duration unknown." And this is true for everyone, each one of us. And so Amicus Brain here is there to support everyone in every step of that route in the life of people living with dementia and their caregivers. And so our AI advisor apps provide knowledge, advice, and resources, and a safe and private community that there is always one place available to you 24/7, where you can engage privately, safely, and securely. So do check out our website, amicusbrain.com. where you can actually request for a demo of our solutions. So now, let's turn it over to our attendees and see if you have some questions for our speakers, Deb and Peter. If you have a question.
One more thing, can we also share their page? Is there any information you want to give about your, do you have a web page, Peter?
Debs,
Do
we have a web page?
Yes, we do. It's quite a long web page. So can I send you an email and then you can disseminate it? Or if you
can type in the. You can also type in the chat box. Yeah.
I could if I knew how to use the chat box.
Okay. No, but never mind.
Peter Berry.
We'll put it on.
But I'll send it to you.
I do think that if you go on to the Facebook page, Peter Berry Living with Alzheimer's, I believe there is a link to the web page on there as well, I believe.
There is.
But for those of you that don't use Facebook, I'm sure that Debs will send it through, and then it will be sent to everybody else.
But it will come up on Google too, because you're quite near the top of Google now.
Am I?
You are.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it's easy to find. Peter is quite famous. Just Google him.
It seems that way, yes.
Right.
Oh, can I just say something?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd like to say, and I'm early and new to this because I was only diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's on the 8th of December.
Oh,
now,
wow.
one of the things that we found is your book, Deb and Peter, and that has been an absolutely brilliant piece of work, and it's definitely aided Renata and I in how we're trying to manage the everyday moments and whatever else, and have this thought of how to work with Alzheimer's and not against. Because at first the thing I did was I threw my arms up there. Why the hell is it me? What the hell have I done wrong? I haven't done anything wrong. And that was just the stupid way to go. And fortunately, very quickly, having read the book, I could steer myself to a much more open and willing to work with and manage this around. So I thought that the whole discussion today was excellent and very helpful. And thank you all.
Well, thank you very much. And firstly, sorry to hear about your diagnosis, but at the end of the day, we have to work with what we've got, and as I say many times, life's not over, it's just a bit different, and we just have to cope with it, move forward, and do the things that you want to do, both of you, and make those new feelings, those new memories. That's what me and my wife still do, and we are still learning. We're not experts at it by any stretch of the imagination. We sometimes get it wrong. Funny enough, in the marriage, I'm the one that always gets it wrong. I don't know how that works, but it's
Same doghouse for me.
No, we should get together and have a beer. We'll be all right.
Absolutely good idea.
But thank you very much. It's funny enough, the book that I will never read and haven't read, because my ability I can read the words, but I forget so quickly what I've read. So yeah, Debs could have put anything in there, and I shall never know.
I'll keep the secret, Debs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Checks in the post.
Okay.
That's a classic example. That is, we've only just met each other, and already we're laughing about our condition. How cool is that, really and honestly? I mean, that is, that's the sort of thing. I mean, probably when I was first diagnosed, I know that wouldn't have been the case. I would have been very serious about it and been a completely different person. But here we are today, moved on, and yeah, we're poking fun at dementia, and in a funny sort of way, that's a good place to be, I think. Well, it's better than the alternative anyway. Yeah.
Definitely.
Good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
you
much.
talk a lot about the glass half full and glass half empty, right? That is another thing you mentioned quite a bit.
Yes, my father was very much like that, and I think I've taken that from him. I'm very much like my father in many ways, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but he was living well with dementia way before I even came anywhere near that idea. Somehow he just did it naturally. He lived well for well over nearly 25 years it was with his condition. I mean, he was 93 when he actually did pass away. So yeah, he didn't worry about it. He used to say to me, you know, Peter, I've got a bad memory. But he said, I never forget something if I think of it. He's ways of saying things, you know. He always had a laugh. He was a wonderful man.
Good.
That's a good one. It's a good one I don't want to forget.
Well, actually, it is in the front. It's a dedication in the front of the book.
Oh, wow, is it?
Yeah. So that's there in the book. What Peter's father said. So you can look at it and enjoy it time and time again.
Yes, thank you. The book that just keeps giving.
In there, yeah. Are there any other questions?
It's all gone.
Oh.
No.
So Shri, are there any questions?
Yeah, there's one on the chat, but I think there's something that you've touched upon earlier. But what would be your message to the carers, caregivers, and caretakers about what matters most to people living with dementia? Frequently, we have heard that PLWD mentioned about control being taken away from simple decisions to profound.
Yes, I think that people with dementia, we are forgotten that we still have our own mind and we still can make our own decisions to a degree. And I think that if all of that is taken away from us, then that's a very, very bad place to be. People like me need to feel comfortable in the fact that we still have a voice, and people with dementia do have a voice. I often say that we shouldn't talk about people with dementia, we should talk to people with dementia. Ask them their opinion. Give people with dementia the option to give their opinion. If they don't want to give it, then that's fine. You can steer them and help them make a decision. But it happens so often where people make decisions for us. And my wife went through a stage where she made decisions for me. And then she came to realize that in actual fact, she should ask me and take advice and think, what do I want out of something? Then sort of make her decision in reflection to that. You know, I think it's that's the thing about it. We need still to have a voice. But people with dementia, we have dementia, and even at the later stages, people forget that people with dementia have lived life. We have worked, we have loved, we have cried, we have laughed. We have all had a life. We are still having a life to a degree, and we still deserve the respect that other people with dementia don't do get. I find it very often that if we're in the street, people will talk to my wife about me when I'm standing beside them. It's that business about, you know, people don't understand, and I think that people who live with people with dementia should understand that we need to have our input, because if we've lost that, then we've lost the whole purpose of life. And what is the point of just sitting there and having somebody else do everything for you? We need to be able to make our own decisions. That's from me personally.
Wow. I don't think there can be a better message than that for this entire conversation. It kind of encapsulates the whole point, you know. I think there need to be advocacy groups. The one that I mentioned earlier, it is called Dementia Action Alliance, USA. The board members are all people living with dementia. So they have a voice in technology that is being developed for people with dementia, and all sorts of things, all sorts of decisions that are being made for people living with dementia, that they have influence and a voice in the direction these take. Yeah, it's beautifully said.
I think dementia at the moment is where, in this country anyway, is where cancer was in the 70s. I think that cancer has now become, I wouldn't say an accepted condition, but if you stop in the street and you say to somebody you've got some form of cancer, people seem to be able to get their head around it. If you say to somebody, I have dementia, all of a sudden there's this, whoa, what do we do with him? Is he going to tear his shirt off and run around the street? Or what's going to happen? And I think that the people are now starting to accept dementia because people like me, many people like me, are standing up and saying, look, guys, this is what it's about. And I think that is gradually changing, and hopefully over the next 20 odd years or more, people will be more accepting of the condition and understand it as it affects more people, and as the diagnosis process gets better and more people are diagnosed, everybody, every family will be touched by dementia. And that I'm sure of, just as most families have been touched by other terrible conditions. And so people need to understand. Just to tell you very quickly, I did a talk many years ago to a big university. I was the last speaker. There were a lot of professionals there. Oh, I don't know, 500 or 600 people there. And they'd been all talked out. They were bored with people talking about dementia. And when I stood up and I was talking about the condition, they were all on their phones and iPads and computers, and nobody was really listening to me. And after a little while, I came up, and I've never forgotten this. I said to all of those, I said, 18 months ago, I was all of you. Today, I'm a man with dementia. In 18 months' time, any of you could be me. The amount of devices that got put down and people started to listen, because it's true, anybody can get this condition. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a taxi driver, a gardener, or a window cleaner, or a high-class judge. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. So we need to listen to people like me, because the future for everybody could be the same as ours. You never know.
Yeah, thank you again, Peter, for being such an eloquent voice for people living with dementia, and a beacon of light, because I have learned so much from you, and I'm so inspired by all the work that you have been doing and are still continuing to do. And I'm assuming no more questions. I think that was the last question, right?
Yes.
I don't see any more questions in the chat box. So thank you, Deb, also, and for helping Peter write his book, and that I will eagerly look forward to getting soon. And I have typed the name of the book in the chat box also for people to Google, and I think you should be able to find it on Amazon and other places as well. So once again, thank you for your time, and for this wonderful, insightful discussion. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all, and she's a good friend. I think I'll keep her on for a little bit longer.
I think you should, definitely.
Right.
Okay,
all right, have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Keep safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.